afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the AfriKindness Teen Talk Series 4. I'm Ebony Wallaby, one of your teen hosts, and I'm really excited to be with you all today for another powerful and uplifting session. If it's your first time joining us, the Teen Talk series is a space created by teens, for teens, where we come together to unmute ourselves, share our voices, and have real conversations that matter. Our theme today is about medicine, and we would be engaging a role model in the field. These sessions are designed to empower us, spark curiosity, and help us see what's possible in the future, especially listening to people who are breaking barriers and making a difference in their fields. So let's get ready to be inspired. Now it's time to introduce someone truly special. Our guest speaker today is Dr. Chisa Maxwell. Dr. Chisa is a dedicated general practitioner based in the northeast of England. He delivers high-quality patient care with compassion and empathy. With a strong academic foundation, including a master's degree in public health from the King's College London and a primary medical qualification from the University of Port Harcourt, he brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to his practice. Following his postgraduate training in Northumbria, he has developed a deep understanding of the complexities of healthcare delivery, and with experience in registrar and junior doctor training, he is compassionate about nurturing the next generation of healthcare professionals and contributing to the development of exceptional medical practice. But Dr. Chisa's story goes far beyond his exceptional medical skills. He is also deeply passionate about mentoring the younger generation, and he is very keen on guiding and supporting junior colleagues as they navigate their medical careers. His approach is centered around building strong relationships with parents, colleagues, and the wider community, ensuring that everyone receives the best possible care. Today, he is here with us to share his journey, lessons learned, and advice for all of us who are thinking about our futures, especially in sciences, medicine, or leadership. Let's give a warm virtual round of applause to welcome Dr. Chisa Maxwell. Thank you for joining us today.
Very pleasure. Thank you.
Dr. Chisa, can you share with us your journey to becoming a medical doctor? Did you spend lots of time in the university and in medical school?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Yes, the standard curriculum is 6 years in Nigeria. So you would usually have to go through the length and breadth of that. And it's normally split in two halves. First half is a preclinical aspect where you go through the usual sciences. And then you have anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and you take your professional exams thereafter. And then you go on to the clinical sections, which is, again, for 3 years, doing pathology, pharmacology, obstetrics, gynecology, pediatrics, medicine, and surgery. So quite a long time, I would say. Sounds daunting, but very doable. Yes, so on the average, about 6 years. Fingers crossed you're passing your exams. Some countries do it slightly differently, where they have a curriculum that will center around a 5-year training. Some also do a 4-year training, but on the back of a previous science degree.
Yeah. Thank you. Did you get to spend time with your friends while learning to become a doctor, or was it all just study?
Oh, no, it wasn't all just study. It was a normal environment, thankfully. A serious environment nonetheless, but you get down times to do usual things, you know. We had our usual sports, we had indoor games, and we live life just as other people would. But a vast majority of it was spent studying. And of course, being with the same set of people over a long period of time, they tend to become more like your family as well. So, yes, a long time, but enough time to do the usual things, you know, watch telly, go out, spend time with family and friends. You know.
Were you always planning on becoming a doctor, or did you have different plans along the way?
Well, I've had time to reflect on this question because someone else asked me a while back, and I wouldn't say I always planned on becoming a doctor per se, but uh, such is life. We have different experiences and different influences as well, be that the influence at home or at school or maybe in the wider society. I think the initial one was from my secondary schooling, really, because they were quite strong on the so-called STEM subjects, you know. So most people at the time graduated towards the sciences, and um, based on what your preference is, of course, you know, uh, most people went either to the engineering route or to the medical route at the time. Ironically, I think I was stronger in physics compared to biology, really, but I just had a passion for medicine, I guess, and so that's how it. I also had in mind to maybe consider something like architecture because I quite like the designs, the building drawings, and so on and so forth. But I think at the end of the day, medicine was probably the one I truly wanted to engage with. Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Chisa. Our
thank
next
you, David.
theme is on identity and self-awareness. We've been learning that knowing who you are and understanding your feelings helps you make
Mhm,
better choices, build real confidence, and stay true to yourself, no matter what
mhm.
people throws at you. And our first question comes from Cora.
Chisa, are medical doctors in the same field as surgeons who carry out medical operations? And do you need to specialize in a medical field as a doctor?
Yeah, great question. Right, a bit of a broad question as well. No, you don't necessarily have to pursue a specialty. Um, Now, don't forget the human body is very vast, you know, from the things you can see on the outside to the things you can't see, which are on the inside. And medicine has evolved towards not just specialization, where a doctor might choose to focus on one part of the body, but you now have the so-called super specialists, you know. So, say for example, if a doctor specializes with the heart, they would most likely either be cardiologist if they are doing the medical bit of things without operations. If they're doing operations on the heart, then they might be cardiac surgeons or cardiothoracic surgeons. But they have even moved beyond that to focus on particular areas of the heart, you know, and you have that for each and every organ field, the brain, you know, your skeleton, your tummy, bowels, and so on and so forth, really. So, in a nutshell, you don't have to specialize. You can carry on the normal day-to-day practice. It depends on where you find yourself as well. As a general practitioner, of course, my inclinations will be more towards a holistic type treatment of the human. General practice wasn't always defined in a specialty type route. So back then, people just finished medical school and then had some experience after that and designated themselves as general practitioners. But as time went on, a formal structured training program came up. And so, uh, for people who go through medical schooling and their foundations after that, should they choose to become general practitioners, they would apply, uh, gain entry there, and then go through the 3 to 4 year scheme after that. Scotland's about 4 years training. I think in England is three. Yeah, so specialists are much more focused on their own areas of the body. General practitioners tend to do a holistic care of everything.
Thank you. Now I have 3 questions for me to ask you. So
Okay, go ahead.
the first one is, when did you decide to be a doctor?
Well, because with the schooling system, of course, you would well again, I speak as someone who was schooled in Nigeria. You would have to determine what you want to do just before you leave your secondary schooling, because at the end of your secondary schooling, you're expected to take exams which would give you entry into the university, really. So it was somewhere towards the back end of secondary schooling. Most people tend to finish secondary school around age 16 on the average. So sometime around there.
Thank you. The second question is, who inspired you to become a doctor?
I don't know actually. I think partly because I spent some time in the environment, and I had an aunt who was a nurse as well, who was very caring, and then you watch some telly programs and you want to be like them. So I think the inspiration was from multiple sources and not just one. Yeah. There wasn't any medical doctor in the family actually, so there wasn't a direct influence from the family position.
Thank you for that. And the last question is, who is your greatest Black role model?
I've got several black role models, but I, I think the easy ones to reach for would be the likes of Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King. But my father remains a very strong role model to me. A very hardworking man, a very unassuming, very quiet, uh, uh, peace-loving man. So yeah.
Thank you for that, Dr. Chisa. It's very interesting to know how you became a doctor and who inspires you. Our next question is from Abdurrahman.
What did you have to learn before becoming a medical doctor?
Thank you, Abdulrahman. I see your interest is in leadership as well. So well done on that. Again, I know I've said quite a lot. Is there anyone uh, who is looking towards pursuing a medical route? Not necessarily a doctor. It can be any part of the healthcare system. It can be nursing. It can be the allied medical fields. Any one of the panelists or the listeners. So no, can no. Okay, well, you would have to learn the basic sciences in school. Physics, chemistry, biology, because those are the entry criteria. Um, and you would have to get the required grades in order to be considered for entry. I can see Cora is thinking about being one, so well done on that. We would hopefully work on that process, but bear in mind, the grand scheme of things, you are still young, you have your life ahead of you as well, and then even though you change your mind, you can always succeed in any endeavor you set your mind to pursue as well. I can see Philomena wants to become one. It'd be interesting to know where Philomena is. Are you in London or Leeds as well? I don't know, because that's where most of the Leeds. Okay, she's in Leeds. Well done on that, Philomena. Yeah. Any particular area of medicine you're thinking about, Philomena? Um, Just waiting for her to reply. Oh, she's thinking about becoming a gynecologist. Well done. I initially thought about being a gynecologist myself, and it's quite interesting in medicine because at times people change preferences as time goes on. So it may very well be that initially you set out to be a particular kind of doctor, but as things go on, you might prefer another specialty. So it's very common for that to happen. You know, yeah, everyone's congratulating Philomena on being a madam gynecologist. Yeah. So again, for people who don't know, gynecology is where is the care for the woman, really. Diseases which may be peculiar to the female. The obstetric bit of it tends to be the pregnancy part of the specialty where you care for the woman all through pregnancy and delivery and just afterwards as well. Yeah. So it's very common that I say full specialties, they're called obstetrician gynecologists or OBGYNs. Yeah.
Sometimes our background and experiences influence who we become. In what ways has your upbringing and education shaped your identity and the values you hold today? What helped you feel confident and true to your identity?
A lot of people say we're products of our environment, and some people believe that it's quite difficult to break out of your environment. And they usually use that in a negative sense. While that may not in itself be uh, wrong, but it's often incomplete, because people are able to rise beyond the initial environment, be that struggles or even supporting. On a personal note, I would say my family shaped me really. I was fortunate to be uh, part of a loving household, a loving family, both nuclear and extended, as it's usually the case in Nigeria. And everyone looked out for everyone, you know. And you were in everybody's business and everyone was in your business as well. So, and that way, we stayed true to our values, so things we held dear, they would ask you, are you well today? Have you eaten? Or it's Sunday, are you going to church or not? And if the answers are not uh, as they have expected, then, you would either expect more questions or support as the case may be. And I think in some way, um, the modern day society doesn't have as much, support, and the family structure may be fragmented as well. Um, so yeah, I would say, Abdul Rahman, that the strongest strongest support really was the family which I came from. Made me self-assured, gave me the confidence I needed, and through down times as well, gave me the support required. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Chisa. Family is
Thank
very important and they shape your personality and your interests sometimes, so it's good to hold them close. Our next question is from Flumi.
Self-awareness means knowing both your strengths and the areas you need to work on. What advice would you give to the teens who are trying to better understand themselves and aren't sure what they're headed?
Well, thank you, man. I mean, the first thing I would say is for them to be patient with themselves. Uh, Learning never ceases in life. Um, it takes a long time to understand yourself. And it's like a full picture. Each day you get a piece of that picture like a puzzle, you know. Some people may do that earlier than others, and some may do that later than others. Yeah. But again, it's a personal journey as well, you know. So first thing is to be patient with yourself. And secondly, to be curious about things, you know, to be quite inquisitive, you know, because there's very little learning that happens when you're not curious about things, you know. Some people may have the fortune of a closer network of people who might guide them through that process. Some may not, but even here, as part of the Forum of Africanness, um, we're having very good positive influences, which would help people understand themselves as time goes on. I gathered you had looked into the matter of people's personality traits and whether you might be, in broad terms, phlegmatic or whether you might be choleric or melancholic. There's oftentimes a mixture of one or two types, you know. But in a nutshell, being patient with yourself, learning every day, taking stock of what has happened, seeing how your reactions might have either worked or not worked, and then uh, staying close to your trusted loved ones as well, you know, is what I would say.
Dr. Chisa, how sometimes people get judged or overlooked because of who they are, and for some reason, and and for some, it might affect them in a negative way. When you came to the UK, did you receive any negative treatment because of your race? And if so, did it impact you positively or negatively?
Well, it's deeply hurtful to be judged or overlooked by a trait which you can't change. Um, but don't forget, like Abraham Lincoln's letter to his son's teacher said, for every scoundrel, there's a hero. For every dubious politician, there's a dedicated leader as well. So um, it, I always encourage people to see things from a positive side, you know. Sadly, at times you may not be able to change people's perspective about you, um, but it's important to keep working hard as the time goes on, and hopefully, you know, success will come your way.
Thank you. What advice would you give to teens who would like to be doctors too?
The practice, some practical advice that may be required. So, firstly, would be in trying to align yourself with the requirements, with the science requirements, with the grades required as well. From a day-to-day basis, you would need to study hard. Would that involve extra classes? Would that involve, you know, tuition from, you know, sources which may not be from the school? Um, so that's just the practical matter. And then secondly, as well, and again, this will depend on which of these schools you would like to go to. I know that the UCAS system gives you the option of looking through each and every one of them, what their requirements exactly are. And then being focused at your goal, really. Um, yeah, again, boils down to the support network you have. But for you to achieve something, there has to be some constancy to the purpose which you're after.
Thank you, Dr. Chisa. It's nice to know what's needed to become a doctor in such a hard field as well. I know that there's a lot of work to be put in, and it's also a very rewarding career. Our next
Thank you.
our next theme is on temperament and values, like you mentioned earlier. In our Teens Academy, we've been learning about temperament and personality, and knowing your temperament and values really helps you to understand why you act the way you do. It's a big part of figuring out who you are and what matters to you. And our first question is from Nifemi.
So my question to you is, what is your temperament?
Mhm. Well, thank you for that question. Um, so broadly speaking, people would describe me as someone who is rather phlegmatic, uh, uh, wanting to avoid conflicts by any means necessary, and pursuing any conflict resolution strategies that may be available to me. So a lot of my friends will describe me as that, you know. Um, but I think there might be an overlap between that and maybe a melancholic type personality trait as well. But I think the dominant one uh, is phlegmatic. But then again, the emphasis should again be on not just recognizing your temperament, but because each temperament would have so-called strong parts and weak parts, but in trying to look towards uh, improving the parts which may not be very strong. Say so, for example, if I describe myself as well as being phlegmatic, my leadership traits may not be as strong, and so that's what I'll probably be focusing on as the journey of life carries on.
I noticed I get irritated quickly while my friend stays calm even under stress. From a medical perspective, how do our brain and body influence temperament, and how can teens manage these differences in healthy ways?
Yeah, and it's quite frustrating when you see others looking all cool, calm, collected, and you're just unable to maintain your composure through difficulties like that. And again, what I would always encourage teens to do is to be patient with themselves. The experts believe that the brain itself is still undergoing a lot of maturation and development. So they think that not until you get to your mid 20s is the brain fully mature. Um, so these things can affect, you know, how people respond to things. While some people may have the natural disposition of being quiet, gentle, some may not necessarily be that way. But taking stock of what has happened, is very important, being accountable as well, so that you can now modify behavior subsequently, because scenarios tend to play themselves out again in life. If, for example, something happened at school, the chances of similar occurrence happening next time is quite high. Maybe someone upset you, on a Monday, someone else might upset you on a Wednesday or Friday, But if you reflect on what happened on the Monday and perhaps discuss that with your close friends and loved ones, and you can trace your steps and see where you might have got things wrong, or where that person might have got things wrong, and what you might have done better. Mm.
Sometimes my values say tell the truth, but I also don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. How can teens align personal values with healthy communication, especially when emotions are involved?
Yeah, so this is the art of diplomacy, isn't it? Which is very difficult. So on the one hand, you want to be open and transparent with people, because that way, if there's a weighty matter, uh, then it can be resolved. But you also want to do that tactfully as well, because you know that it might be one which will trigger a lot of emotions. If it's something you don't naturally feel comfortable with, you can always discuss that with your friends, your family, and see what suggestions they bring up, because you want to ultimately remain true as per your values. You do not want to be dishonest, and you want to effect change in a positive manner. So, say, for example, a friend has a bad habit or something, you want to be able to improve that as well. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Dr. Chisa. Emotions are very fickle, especially when people are in their teenage years. Things can get out of hand very quickly, so it's nice to know how to be able to stop that. I'll be asking the next two or three questions, starting with this. Being a doctor can be stressful at times, as I've heard. How has your natural temperament helped you in handling pressure and caring for patients?
So every day is fully pressurized at work, emergencies going off, left, right, and center. And uh, a lot of handling these things will not just boil down to the training you have received, so you know how to, in a constructive manner, deal with these medical problems, but also, again, back to the issue of your temperament. So you may be one who is disposed to that kind of calm, like myself. I may not necessarily be strong in other ways, but about that feeling of calm in the midst of chaos, I think that that's one of my strong points, really. So that helps me deal with day-to-day emergencies, and I'm able to prioritize them, accordingly as well.
Thank you. My next question is, what are some values that guide your decisions as both a doctor and a mentor?
So firstly, as a doctor, I know people don't necessarily want to consult with you and they come to you for help. Uh, so a strong value I have, which I've been able to nurture over time is that of being part of a patient's journey. So when people come through, uh, ensure that they know that whatever problem there might be, we're there to deal with it together. At times, doctors may not always have the answers for you, but knowing fully well that they're on your side and, if there's any help available, they're there to navigate the pathway with you is quite helpful. I would always be honest and have a duty of candor to people as they come through, so that if there's any room for improvement of, say, for example, habits which they might have, say, for example, someone who smokes, and if that's related to the problem, we can discuss that in, an honest way, open way as well.
The next theme is on leadership. Every teen here is a leader in the making, and learning leadership skills now helps us to build confidence and make good decisions, as well as positively influence the world around us. So my question to you, Dr. Cheezer, is when did you first realize you had leadership qualities, and how have they helped you in your work as a doctor?
Well, thank you. I think oftentimes when people hear that word leadership, they think about very big things, and it tends to be very daunting as well. Oh, you might visualize yourself as the prime minister or something. And people naturally want to shy away from that. But leadership just means, being able to uh, go with people through a particular a pathway or path, and then uh, shepherd them through it, in a successful and in an inspirational manner. I think mine really was from med school and, having small academic groups which I coordinated, doing some mock tests and uh, being able to set the questions and, provide the answers. Thereafter, people looked up to me for subsequent sessions, and then it carried on in that kind of way, and has led me through my academic journey, really.
Thank you. And my final question, what does real leadership look like, and how can teens start practicing it today?
Well, firstly, a real leader has to be honest. People who detect very quickly if you're not being honest with them. People don't mind the fact that a leader may not have all the answers, but a leader who is not honest and transparent with them. A leader has to be able to inspire, like I said. A leader has to be able to provide the necessary energy for, dealing with problems. A leader has to have a vision, where we go into on this matter. Where do we see ourselves, and then a leader would not necessarily take all the steps with you, but will coordinate all the steps taken, that might be from multiple people, towards attaining a particular goal. So essentially managing a vision, which is what I think, the leader will be there to manage each and every one to achieve a common goal.
Thank you, Doctor.
So,
Our next question is from Abdurrahman.
Being a leader amongst friends or classmates sometimes feels heavy, like you're carrying everyone else's strength. How can young leaders protect their mental health while still guiding and supporting others?
yeah, and that's a very good question, Rahman. It brings us to the issue of housekeeping, which is what we call it in medicine. You have to ensure that despite, pouring yourself out for others, you're also filled in yourself, because you can't pour out of an empty vessel, really, and the more you keep doing that, the more energy you spend, the more emotions you spend as well. Um, Medical doctors have something called the balance group. So essentially, people who come together to discuss matters, discuss the day, discuss how difficult it's been, and draw the energy from the group there, But in our day-to-day life as teens, we have good friends for this. We have good family members. We have our teachers, we have our support network and people who are trusted. And this is what I would normally encourage people to avail themselves of.
Many teens lead in small ways, like school, sports, or youth groups. What advice would you give to young people who want to grow as leaders? And what advice would you give to young people who want to lead but struggle with confidence, fear, or failure?
So leading a group of people is very difficult because people have ideas as to how they want things to be. But a leader needs to have time for each and every member of that group, because when you do, you have a one-on-one understanding of not just people's opinion, but why they have that opinion, or why they might have a position on something, why they don't want. So say, for example, the sports group, it may be it may be that someone wants a particular sport and another one wants a different one. But if you don't hear from them on an individual basis as to why they want what they want or how they want that plan, then, it might be difficult to, lead the collective, So a leader needs to have that kind of time, for each and every member of the group, towards that common aim.
Thank you, Dr. Chisa, for reminding us that a leader needs to know the people that they're working with so that they can work more effectively together. Our final theme is on emotional intelligence, resilience, and growth. In our Teens Academy, we've been learning about emotional intelligence, resilience, and a growth mindset, and how they help us face challenges, bounce back from setbacks, and keep us growing into the best version of ourselves. My colleagues will ask you a few questions about this. Over to you, Nifemi.
There are times I get angry or sad, then later realize the real cause was stress or tiredness. How can teens build emotional intelligence to recognize the signs of stress before reacting?
Thank you for the question, Ifemi. I'll just give a quick example of myself. Normally, after the day's work, and this has happened over time, yeah, uh, say for example, you come for the morning and then you're in clinics all through till the evening. Uh, I I came to the awareness that by the evenings I'm not the best version of myself. So maybe friends or family might be ringing me at that time, and I'm a bit short, and I may not be as supportive to them, as they want or hope that I can be. So over time, I've been able to, at the end, give myself some time to recover from the day, maybe an hour or two, give myself time to eat, give myself time to maybe do practical things, take a shower, and get refreshed. And afterwards, I'm a bit more energized to, pour out again. So it, at times it takes a while for you to take stock in that way to see, how things have gone and what the reasons for the reactions have been prior to. And then on a practical basis, make some adjustments as well so that, at the end, you're not as upset with yourself or others as you have been before.
Sometimes friends look fine outside but may be struggling silently. What are healthy, respectful ways teens can practice empathy and check in on one another's mental well being?
Mhm. Yeah, and this is a very difficult matter because a lot of people don't want to be burdened on anyone else. They don't want to trouble you. They don't want, to stress anyone else. They feel it's their matter, it's their problem. Um, but I guess if someone's close to you, you would understand, even if they don't tell you that they're not their usual selves. And you don't have to be a professional in that way. All it takes is asking the question. But then you might need to ask the question more than once. You might need to rephrase the question as well. So, say, for example, I asked you, Nifemi, how are you today? You might say, oh, I'm fine. But I know you're not fine. So I might go further to say, what is the problem? What's the matter? Is there anything going on which I should be aware of? How can I help? And I think just doing that in itself might, you know, uh, uh, open up, uh, further avenues to discuss problems, which might be present already.
Thank you, Dr. Chisa. Mental health is becoming more and more prevalent, and especially in young people. So it's nice to be able to know how to deal with that if one of your friends are having troubles. Our next question is from Pearl.
Dr. Chisa, being a
Yeah.
doctor means dealing with people's emotions and fears every day. How has emotional intelligence helped you in connecting with patients and colleagues?
Yeah, thank you, Bill. So generally speaking, I would say this is a strong point of mine, and not least because people tell me that as well. A lot of so say for example, colleagues as well. People don't necessarily want their matters aired in public, and people might be going through some difficulty which might affect their output at work, uh, and wouldn't tell people just like that, not unless, it's a safe space, it's a safe a person for them to confide in, So if part of emotional intelligence is not just what you do, but your disposition, if people feel you can be trusted, if your friends feel you can be trusted, but if over time you haven't made yourself into that kind of person, so your friend confides in you and hears the matter somewhere else, they may not be favorably disposed to telling you things as time goes on. They may very well still be your friends, but they wouldn't maybe divulge sensitive, uh, details about themselves to you, Of course, if it's something that needs for you to tell, the authorities, or, if it's a matter which you need to break that kind of trust between your friend, just for reasons of safety, maybe to keep them safe, maybe they're, God forbid, having thoughts of hurting themselves. You really need to be telling someone else who can perhaps bring some immediate solutions. But if people feel they can trust you with their details, then being aware of their situation, becomes easier, and they tell you about it as well.
Thank you. What was one habit or mindset that has helped you continue growing in your personal and professional life? And how can teens use that in their own journeys?
I think the main thing is about, being curious and willingness to keep learning because I'm still learning. I learn new things every day. I feel as though I know very little, So when I meet people, I want to know about them, not just the problems. People come to, I might see a name. I'm like, oh, where's that name from? Can you tell me a bit about it? And then, so that inquisitive, you know, um, disposition with what I feel, and that goes for work as well. I come across a clinical situation which I've never really seen, Might look into it. I might ask colleagues as well. I might look at what, has come in today. What do we think is going on? So I think that nature of wanting to learn, it has been quite helpful for me.
If you could go back in time and tell your teenage self one thing, what would it be?
That's a very difficult question to answer. Just to stay the course, keep working hard, and believe in yourself.
Thank you. Uh, we've now come to the end of our session. It's so great having all of you with us today. And a huge shout out and thank you to our amazing speaker, Dr. Chisa Maxwell. I don't know about you, but I was totally inspired by his passion for caring for people, especially as a GP in the Northeast. It's awesome how committed Dr. Chisa is to building strong connections, not just with his patients, but also with all of us who are the future of healthcare. His whole journey, from his training in Port Harcourt to getting his master's from King's College London, really proves that dedication and good mentors can take you anywhere. Let's all take the insights he shared today and run with them. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. That brings us to the end of the Team Talk series. We've had a fantastic time learning from the wealth of experience of 4 role models, from engineers to doctors and to lawyers. It's been a fantastic time. We hope to continue this series next time, but for now, have a good afternoon, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.